You've proven that you're good at it. So to go stop doing that and pivot to something that you haven't done before, that you're not proven in, and having to rebuild and like recreate your identity in this new world is hard for a lot of people. And I think it's that fear that keeps them back. So how did you overcome that? Because I have to imagine you had a little bit of that fear, no?
Yeah, I did. But what helps, and it's very important, especially for women to remember, what helps is having financial security, kind of a fuck you account, as I would call it. The account where if you fail in this, you are able to live out for, 3 months, half a year without any salary. If you think that what your pivot, what you chose to do is an absolute shit and you just want to stop it now, you can just do it.
Welcome to the She's So Sweet podcast, where we interview accomplished women who have worked their way to the C-suite. I'm your host, Kristi Faltorusso, Chief Customer Officer and award-winning customer success executive. I am so excited to introduce our guest today. I've got Laura Erdem, who's the sales executive over at Dreamdata.io. So Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Kristi. I'm so excited to share my story.
I am so excited to hear your story in more detail. So for those listening, you should know by now, I always do a little prep with my guests beforehand. And so I get a little intro into what they're going to talk about, and it always piques my interest. But I am excited to dig into a couple areas here. So let's get started by sharing a little bit about, tell us about who you are, tell us about your role, tell us about Dreamdata. I'd love to hear some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Laura Erdem, and I have been at Dreamdata for, a bit more than 4 years. And it was not an easy way to come into a startup, very early startup from a very known enterprise. So I used to work at Gartner as a senior enterprise sales executive, crazy great role, very high paid, and it was hard to get there. And then I joined Dreamdata, a startup. I was employee number 9 to start off their sales. That was a very hard jump, but I never, ever regretted it. And now we are over 50 employees right now, opened up a New York office, and it's just rolling. So I'm very excited to share that story.
Well, I'm excited that you're coming over here to New York, because I know for our listeners, I am based in New York, and my favorite thing is being able to finally meet some of my guests in person. So I love that you're coming out here. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So New York is the place to be right now. It's like from the whole US, I think that's where I was aspiring to go for a very long time as well.
That's great. Now tell me a little bit, what does Dreamdata do?
Dreamdata is a revenue attribution platform that helps B2B marketers to understand the customer journey and scale what's working in marketing. So you know how easy it is for somebody, easy, maybe define easy, but if you're selling to B2C, let's say you're selling leather bags and you got some ads working, somebody clicked on an ad, then they bought the bag maybe a couple of days later. That's pretty easy to track. For B2Bs, it's very difficult because there's so many buyers. And you don't know which ads are working. Should we go to events? Should we do webinars and so on? And that's what Dreamdata does, helps to connect those dots between the whole customer journey.
That's crazy. I feel like attribution is always so difficult to pinpoint. So it's cool to hear that you get to work with the technology that's like bringing this story together.
Oh, yeah. And one of the coolest features that everybody is the most excited to see is the customer journey. It's like, we closed this enterprise client. Show me what the customer journey was. And usually you was like, I met them at events, or I had 7 meetings. Yeah. Show me everything in one place. And that's very, very fascinating.
That's cool. Does it give you a visualization also? I'm a very visual person.
Yeah, it does. And that's what works so well in LinkedIn as well. It's like everybody jumps on it, even though it's like, it's just like a visual story. It's like, we never seen this before.
Oh, that's so cool. I love disruptive data that's solving real problems. Before I got into customer success, I was a marketer for over a decade. And I worked with sales teams. And I think that was always our big struggle as things evolved. It was so hard to say, where did this actually come from, right? Did it come from search engines? Did it come from events? Did it come from a referral? And being able to track that is really powerful. So that way you can invest in what works.
Exactly. And it's never like a game of, did you bring this in? Did I bring this in from sales and marketing? No, we need to figure out what's working and scale that. Because that's it. Is it cold calls? Is it marketing? Should we do more Google ads, or should we get more salespeople to call?
Yep. Well, I love that. So tell me this, because I always love to go and rewind a little bit, because obviously you've had this really cool journey that got you to this role. You're even coming out to New York. You're building out this team, and we're going to talk a bit about that. But let's go way, way, way back. So what did little Laura think that she was going to be when she grew up? Because I'm confident, and I always say I'm not going to make assumptions here, but like, I don't ever think that anyone dreams of being what they end up being when they're an adult. So tell me, what did you think you were going to be when you were younger?
And probably you never dreamed to be in sales when you're young, because that's kind of, who dreams about that?
Probably quite the opposite. You're like, I dream to never be in sales when I grow up.
Because you have seen the, I don't know, car salesman or something. It's like, I don't want to do that. Anyway, so back in the day, so I think it's tough when you're small. You don't really know what you want to do. But when you're finishing school, more or less, so you start to get the sense of what I'm good at, or at least what I'm definitely not good at, and I'm not going to do that. So I had a story of that. I got an opportunity to create a radio ad while I was at the end of my school years in one of the most popular radio stations in the country. And you could hear that ad for a long time. Then I said, sounds kind of good. And I'm kind of good at communication, so maybe I should be in like journalism. And then during the summertime, before going to university, I got myself a job for summer as a radio DJ. So I worked as a radio DJ during summertime. I had a contract. I was actually working on weekends. I had some guests. I was like doing power top 1,000, whatever that is that you do. It was a lot of fun. But the hard thing is, they didn't pay at the end. So was it actually a job?
Feels like an internship, but
exactly. Anyway, but nevertheless, the experience was great. Okay, so the experience was great. And I was thinking, okay, so maybe for university, I should study journalism because that seems to be fun. I'm kind of good at it. And I actually did not get into journalism because I failed with 1 point for the exam. That's funny, but that's like not the worst thing. It's like, what should I do then? It's like, because I grew up in Lithuania, and if you don't go to study right after school, something's wrong with a kid. So I had to choose. I had to choose where to go, and universities are free, so you have to go to study.
Wow.
So I chose to go and study sociology. Kind of a little bit about people, a little bit about nothing, and like kind of I'll survive. Because I had to study something, and that was a perfect choice because I moved to the capital city of Lithuania, Vilnius, and I studied there. It was fun. It was pretty easy. It was kind of relevant, but I'm not going to work with that anyway. So it's like university. I did my best, so to say. But then throughout the year, so I got the job in a tech company, which was also a surprise for me because I couldn't really do tech, but they hired me for communication and collaborations, the skills that I had. Then I was a knowledge manager, then I was a leader, then I was a manager for a development team, like really nice career. I think I was there for 7 years. And from there, then I said, maybe sales, because they seem to be having fun in tech. And it seems like that's where it's happening. Should I do that? And I was still young, and I was trying to get into that role internally in the company I was. It was actually an American company. And they said, you're kind of good at what you're doing. So like, maybe not sales. And then I started to look for another job in sales. And that's where the story really starts of trying the things that are outside of your comfort zone, even though that is not equally up in the career ladder. Because I was quite up high and my salary was already very good at that company. And I looked for jobs in sales, and nobody wants to hire a sales executive without any experience in her, I think, late 20s. It's like, oh, you should already know sales if you are in your late 20s. So I got a junior sales role as an inside sales executive at Red Hat. And that was fantastic. Like, I loved this. I was supporting key account managers and later became a key account manager, but it was the place where I felt, okay, I got this. This is cool. This is stressful enough, but also pays a lot, which I love. And from there, then I moved to Gartner into a key account executive role, and then moved to Dreamdata into another sales role, which also was kind of a jump down, you could say, because from a very well-known brand, very well-paid salary, I went into a startup which paid half the salary, promised a lot of warrants, and like, okay, I'm going to do it. That's going to be fun. And I never, ever, ever regretted that. So it's like those career things that have been happening throughout the time, from dreaming to be in journalism to going into sales and trying to figure out, okay, who am I really? So I think I've landed this. It's like revenue is where it's at. I love to work with clients. I love to figure out what is it that the product that I'm selling is giving of value to the clients that want to buy it. It's not everybody who is your buyer. Figure out who that is, figure out what kind of values are they looking for, and figure out how much are they going to pay for this. And after that is just scaling that and getting more of those types of clients who are actually willing to pay for the service.
See, that was the story I needed to hear, because I'm looking at this and I'm reading through our notes and I'm like, journalist to salesperson, and then like watching your career, I'm like, this is cool. What's the story here? So tell me, like, obviously you've done some really big companies, and then you've done some really small companies. And I know that there's a lot of folks who listen to this that are probably at varying degrees of different startups, right? Some of them are further along in hyper growth stage, some are early stage. What were some of the big things for you that you had to adjust to going from an organization like Gartner to then Dreamdata? Like, what were the big adjustments you made?
So before I joined Gartner, I was at Red Hat. And one thing that I really, really was missing was exact structure and training into sales. And that's what Gartner delivered. They are amazing. Well, that's why they bought the Challenger sales and all of that. You're trained up. You're absolutely trained up. You know every single next step, what you need to do to be successful. And like how outbound works, it used to be 3 steps of outbound. Is amazing. And then I go into a startup. There's nothing there. You come with your experience, but that experience actually does not match what a startup is looking for. And I'm still very, very thankful for the founders who thought, okay, we're going to give her a chance. She has something in there that we want, and we want her to be a part of the team, because usually startups are hiring according to your experience in other startups. So you can bring in and do that thing again in their startup. And Dreamdata didn't do that. They took a bet on me, and it was very hard to begin with because we did not have any clients. We could not sell the first half a year when I joined and another sales executive joined, who actually was closer to that experience as what we were selling, but we couldn't sell. So we had to figure that out ourselves. There was no structure at all to figure out, are we selling to the right prospects? Are we charging the right cost? What is it that we need to show them that they get interest to buy this product actually? So that's where, from complete structure of knowing what to do in Gartner to be successful, you just do that thing enough times and you will be successful. Going to somewhere else where you have no idea what to do. You would do it 1,000 times. You just freaking don't know what to do. So we figured that out. And that's where also the parallel with journalism for me comes as well, because we started to work a lot on LinkedIn. So organic social became a very big channel for us. We're selling to marketers, and marketers are on LinkedIn. They do use their ads. They're selling to their own B2B companies on LinkedIn. So we started to do a lot of organic social, and that's where I grew my personal brand. That's where I got that journalism piece in me as well, to write posts, do videos at events, do interviews and so on. I'm still in sales, not in marketing, but I have a chance to do that thing that I always thought that I'm probably good at that. I can do a little bit of communication, and people like to listen to it and they catch the message really fast because I'm able to condense it in an understandable way.
So that was the final dot connection there, because it's not even just the work that you're doing at Dreamdata, but it's this ability to take what you thought you were going to do early and really take that and close the loop and say, like, listen, I am doing that stuff now in a different capacity, in a different role than I thought it would be. And it's a hybrid of the work that you're doing, but you have that piece of it. And so I don't know about you, but I also have similar abilities in my current role, right? Where I get to kind of dip my toe into different things. And like, that's what keeps me going, right? Like, that's the exciting work, because it's not the traditional, I'm doing the same thing every day. You get to take on these new opportunities and really kind of just spread your wings a bit.
Absolutely. But there is also a big part of satisfaction to build something that can scale on processes too. I really, really love to see that. To begin with, we didn't know how to sell, what to do, and so on. And slowly we built some building blocks where we know that whenever we bring in new people, if you do that one thing, or if you follow this process to begin with and this process a little later, there's a big chance that you will succeed because we did that many times. So there is that kind of maybe peace that comes with it, that we know some building blocks, and then there are still some things that are not completely set for that freedom and for that enjoyment of figuring things out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, it takes a long time to get everything figured out, right? This is why these companies have different stages. And I think that's part of the build and part of the fun. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit here, because obviously you made a lot of changes and you made a lot of decisions throughout your career that obviously contributed to you getting where you are today. What were some of those big pivotal, like those moments or the decisions that you had to make that you feel like helped be that catalyst for you?
Yeah, for me, it was most of the times both feeling that I want to do this. So let's say I wanted to be in sales, and it was just a hunch. Seemed to be fun, but I wanted to test this out. So kind of not being afraid to lose the career that you've already got and dip your toes into something else. Because when you're at it and when you're good at it, it feels like, okay, I could just continue doing that. And at a point you feel stuck. Like, I've done this before. I know this job. It pays well. Maybe I just come in, check out, go home, do my life. Remembering that your work is your life as well, and figuring out, okay, I'm feeling stuck. I would like to do something. Just do it. I really like the way Gary Vaynerchuk puts it. Every time he speaks to whoever, in whichever age he is, it's like he's speaking to a 60-year-old and they're saying, oh, I still don't feel like I found my career. What should I do? And so on. It's like, just do it. You've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Even when you're in your 30s, you think, oh, my career is kind of half over and maybe I should just stick to this thing and just continue doing that. No, just switch, do something else. If this feels like shit, do something else. And don't be afraid to pivot. For me, those pivotal career moments were when I did pivot. For example, going into sales, I went into a junior role. That was the best thing I've ever done. The next thing, what I've done is went from Red Hat to Gartner. Everybody at Red Hat were looking at me and saying, you sure want to go to Gartner? Do you know how corporate they are? Because I loved Red Hat. I loved it to pieces. The culture of the company, everything. And everybody was looking at me. Now do you know how corporate it is? And you're going to be a only woman in the team, selling to only men all the time, selling to CTOs and CIOs in Denmark. And that's what drove me. My salary got 25% higher. I was selling to C-level in the biggest Danish companies. You name it, Lego, Vestas, and all those companies everybody knows in the world from Denmark. I was selling to those, and that's what was driving me. Did I love it? I could have chosen a better job maybe if I actually knew what I was getting into, but everybody warned me. I knew what I was getting into, but I needed to test this out. And it was pivotal as well because I got the training that I needed from Gartner. I understood. The clients loved me. And then there came Dreamdata. I was like, okay, let's pivot again.
I love that. And I think it's so important to lean into those moments. I think fear obviously prevents a lot of people from making those tough decisions, right? You're so comfortable and this is what you know. And you've, to your point, right? You've established yourself in something and you've proven that you're good at it. So to go stop doing that and pivot to something that you haven't done before, that you're not proven in, and having to rebuild and like recreate your identity in this new world is hard for a lot of people. And I think it's that fear that keeps them back. So how did you overcome that? Because I have to imagine you had a little bit of that fear, no?
Yeah, I did. But what helps, and it's very important, especially for women to remember, what helps is having financial security, kind of a fuck you account, as I would call it. The account where if you fail in this, you are able to live out for, 3 months, half a year without any salary. If you think that what your pivot, what you chose to do is an absolute shit and you just want to stop it now, you can just do it. That really, really helped to make it easier to do those changes. And it comes from saving up, learning how to invest, figuring out where to put your money instead of just living from salary to salary with really nice things. I love nice things too, but I also like a really, really safe and secure way to the next month and next year, and thinking that, oh, if next year I have no job, I'm fine. So this is one of the things that made me so fearless in doing those things. But at the same time, I really get the kick of energy of doing something new. If I'm stuck in doing the same thing, I can do it, especially if it pays well. But there is a specific time where I'm thinking, something new. Let's do something new. So either it is a move to New York or I don't know, then going into a startup or starting a new community or doing more stuff that you haven't tried before.
Okay, you might be the only one of my guests, which is so crazy, who has brought up the financial stability point. I don't know that there's enough women who, especially early in their lives, forget their careers, in their lives, focus enough on saving, right? And establishing that nest egg, that secret stash. Because to your point, I feel like I've been fortunate enough to feel that same like liberating freedom of like, I'm fine. If I lose my job tomorrow, I'm okay. I will figure it out. If I'm not successful at something, I'm okay. I've afforded myself the ability to take those risks because I've been smart with our money. But not enough people are doing that. And in fact, I think quite the opposite, right? Spending is out of control. People are on all these social media apps. They see everything. They buy everything. I know I am like the ultimate consumer. So what was it for you? Like, when did you start saving? When did you educate yourself on like how to create that and the importance of that, like financial freedom?
Well, first of all, it came with my husband, who is a total opposite of me. I'm a spender. I'm a spender.
Okay, you and I are the same. My saving came from my husband.
It did not come from him, but more like the actual, like, relax. We actually need to have some money on the side. Yes, that's fine. And we used to have it. But actually, the investment into stocks came from me and my curiosity. So back in the days, it was many years ago, I don't remember, like 10-ish years ago, when I was thinking, these stocks things, we're not investing into stocks. We've got an apartment. And it's like I'm saving for my pension. I'm going to be fine and have some like saved money to say, I'm not going to work for a couple of months. But it's like, okay, these stock stuff seems to be interesting, but I know nothing about it. And I'm the type of person that I just throw myself into it. So what I did is I opened up an account with one of the stock banks in the Nordics, and I just started investing small amounts. I don't know, $100 into a stock. $100. I bought some Vestas. I bought some ETFs, and I actually did not really know what I was doing. I was thinking, I'm buying something, so it was almost like a shopping experience.
It feels like shopping. I love that.
It's like you buy a stock that you believe in. Okay, I believe in Vestas. I believe in windmills, and let me buy a stock into that company because it feels nice. What happens next is I can see those raising or I can see them falling, but then I got interested. It's like, why is this happening? And what should be the next thing that I should be putting my money into that actually starts to go up? Then I started to listen to podcasts of all those white men that are explaining what you should be doing with the money. And then I was putting some money somewhere else. And so at a point, I was like, I think I even sold some of my Vestas stocks and said to my husband, like I earned 120% on those stocks. And he's looking and saying, wait, how much money have you got there? And we never really spoke about this. And then we look into this and it's like, he's like, this looks like a good money. I was like, yes, it is. Like, okay. And then he got into it. And then we started working out from that. It's like reshuffling the money and so on. But that came from the curiosity to see what's happening out there. And then slower, then we got it into those building blocks that actually are scalable for the future. Maybe those stocks that I bought were not the best ones, but those were the building blocks to go further into that financial stability later.
I love that so much. And I had to spend a couple minutes on that because not enough people bring that conversation to this podcast. And I think it is really important that people think about their future and their saving. And to your point, I do believe that is what creates the ability to make these cool decisions and pivot. So let's kind of segue a little bit here. The She's So Sweet podcast is brought to you by Client Success. Client Success is an all-in-one customer success platform to help post-sale implementation and success teams manage customers from new to renew.
Through an industry-leading platform approach, Client Success gives businesses an in-depth view into customer health, product usage trends, along with churn and risk data so that your team can not only retain customers, but help them grow as well. Whether it's managing customer onboarding workflows in shared portals, building custom health scores, tracking sentiment with NPS surveys, or doing more with less through AI and automations, Client Success gives customer success professionals a true one-stop platform to manage all aspects of the customer journey. To learn more about the industry's fastest to implement customer success platform, visit www.clientsuccess.com. That's Client Success. Simple, powerful customer success.
Obviously, your story sounds beautiful and it sounds easy and like you made the right decisions. But I know as a woman who has also made it pretty far in my career, this does not come without battle scars, right? Like we have had to overcome some things to get to where we are. So share with me a little bit, like what were some of the challenges or obstacles that you faced that you had to overcome?
Yeah. Well, you've tried that before as well. And then that's why we're on this podcast. And that's why I love to speak about this topic from woman to woman. Being in a group of too little diversity, you could say that lightly. Mm-hmm. But most of the times, especially when you're in Europe, it's white males in their 40s in tech. That's more or less 40s, 50s. That's what was the hardest part for me. So there are a lot of those men that have helped me. And it was easier for me to go through because I just liked to fight a bit and to be that different person that everybody wants to have in the team. But this is the hard part for most of the women. This is the scar that leaves for you thinking, do you really want to continue this? Or maybe I should do something easier. Maybe I should choose another job where there are more people I can look up to that actually look like me or are a little bit similar, or it's easier for us. Because I mean, the reason that we have this little diversity in tech has nothing to do with the individual men that are there. They just happen to be there because these are the types of people that we're hiring to the roles. But it was very hard for a woman to be hired to some of the roles because you're a woman. And then they put their bets. It's like, I think she's going to make it. Let's take her in. We need diversity. That's the hard part because you not only are trying to do your very, very best to be very good at this role, but you're also being compared. It's like, are you as good as those men that we have hired? And what is it that's so different that you're bringing up to the table as well? Because, well, probably there's nothing different, but another woman who comes in, she can see herself in me as well. Yeah. And it's easier for us to be together and to start being even more diverse in this. And this doesn't even just go to white males in their 40s or 50s. It goes into any type of diversity. And that's really important to mention as well. So if you are a company and hiring for people and thinking about diversity, don't only think about men or women. Think about the different ages. Think about the disabilities, about, I don't know, religious beliefs, whatever that is. As long as we are a bigger and diverse group, there are so many more opinions that are coming in that you would never come in if we were just the same people around the table. So these are the biggest scars for me. And I'm still fighting those fights. I think usually most of the times in my head, and sometimes I get angry unintentionally because the people who are there in those groups usually are not there because somebody chose just to have a big group of white males, but it's because we're used to do this and we're used to hire like that. So the more people we have thinking a little bit differently and hiring into those different roles, it will be more and more easy to have a broader diversity.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that obviously most of my guests are women in tech, right, in various roles and departments. And, you know, that's something that comes up a lot, right? It's something that most of us had to navigate. And to your point, these are still scars that we still live with. And I think, you know, my hope is that generationally, they feel the impact of that less and less, right? Because I do think that there has been great focus on this. And listen, I don't think our numbers from a diversity standpoint are where they need to be by any means, but it is nice to see the progression that we have made, whether that be in gender, race, right, religion, creed, age, all of those things. I do think that we are making small strides. And so we just all need to keep continuing to rally around that because to your point, diversity of thought, which comes from experiences, which comes from your backgrounds and all of these things, is what brings greatness to these companies. And so we've got to focus on that if we want to continue to be part of the future. Okay, now this is my favorite part because I feel like as women, we don't do this enough. I want to talk about your successes. I feel like we're all so career focused that we can't even celebrate the past because we're so focused on like, what's next? What's the future? What happened? What went wrong? What do we got to do next? So let's spend a couple of seconds here and like, let's talk about your greatest accomplishments because I'm sure you've got quite a few boxes there to check off. When you think about your proudest moments in your accomplishments to date, what are some of the things that like that stand out to you that you're like, yes, I did that? Like just, you kind of just glow with pride. What are those moments for you?
Two things. So the first thing was when I pivoted to sales, I really loved the role and I knew that I could stay there. I love this. I can do this more and more. But I was awarded as the best inside sales employee of the year. And it's like, okay, so it's not just that I love this. I just pivoted my career, but I'm also doing well comparing to everybody else who has been there before. It's like, good, done. So that was a very big one, but it's quite a while ago. It's almost 10 years ago now, imagine. Wow. And right now, the proudest moment for me is being where I'm at with my personal brand on LinkedIn. That has been building up through Dreamdata for more or less 4 years ago, where I started to help Dreamdata to build that out. Well, it has never been a thing that I want and I aspire to be a thought leader on LinkedIn or something like that. It was a part of the job. It still is a part of the job. Yep. But when I look back and people recognize me at events or say, oh yeah, I'm on sales calls, I've seen your videos or something, like, oh yeah, wait, people are seeing this. So this is really, really a proud moment. Or like bigger brands come over, LinkedIn themselves come over and say, Laura, we want you on our webinar to all of our users. It's like, whoa, wait, so I'm not just in sales in a startup, but some other people would like to hear the thoughts that I have around, I don't know, content or marketing. This is big. I love that.
Okay. Now, I think a lot of people are focusing on building their personal brands. I think more and more people, especially using LinkedIn, they're moving away from their profile being a conduit to their company and really starting to recognize that this is my social media. This represents me. And they're building their brand. What advice do you have for folks? Because I think that there's always this fear that prevents people like, oh, I don't want to post anything. I don't want to share anything because I don't want people judging me. Or what if I sound dumb? Or what's some advice that you could share about building your brand? So I think this is important right now.
I think a very important part of it is wanting to define who do you want to appeal to. Because especially on LinkedIn, if you're thinking about your personal brand on LinkedIn, who do you want to appeal to? Is that I don't know, for me, it's marketers. I want to appeal to marketers that are in B2B, SaaS, tech. This is my vibe. So I've defined that group of people. The next thing that I've defined, what is it that they care about? And what type of content catches their attention. Then I adjust my content to be more personal, but at the same time, very relevant and value given to your audience. So bringing your personal brand has nothing to do about you. It has to do about your audience. So when I'm teaching people about how to do social selling on LinkedIn and so on, there are two things that people don't care about on LinkedIn. It's kind of crazy. And if you remember those two things, you will be so good on LinkedIn. People don't care about you, and people don't care about your company. As soon as you forget that, so when I'm on social media, on LinkedIn especially, people care about themselves. People care about their problems to be solved. They're curious. They want to learn. They want to understand. When you understand that and try to pivot your content to something that you're giving to your audience that you have defined, that's where that magic will happen. And it will be so much easier for you to grow your personal brand.
And what would you say to somebody who's sitting in front of their computer right now, drafting and redrafting a post that they are terrified to hit post? What advice can you give to that person who's sitting there debating whether or not they should do this?
So to start with, if it is the beginning of your journey on LinkedIn, remember that nobody's watching. So if your post that probably is not a very good post when you look at it back for like 3 years later, nobody is watching. Maybe 100 people will see it. hundreds of people that you actually don't know. And first, they would never say that they did not like it. LinkedIn is such a positive platform. That's why I love building there. Nobody's going to troll you. And there are people, sometimes are very, very rare. Nobody will say that. And people that actually like you, they will just support you on it. So nobody's watching, just hit post and redo the post the next time and see how it works out. It's so easy nowadays. So just do it. Go out, write it down.
I love that
ship
advice.
it.
I tell people, you know what? Also, if you're not ready to post, go comment, right? Go start to follow and engage with people and like get your thoughts out and your point of view. Don't just write thanks, great idea, love this. But like actually, if you have something to contribute it in the comments. It feels like you're not in the spotlight. It feels like a little bit of a safer way to get your voice out there. So start there.
That's a very good advice. I think it's the best start. So start in comments and then next time just go and hit post because nobody's watching. Nobody's watching.
I think it's getting over that, right? Like that recognition of like, nobody's watching yet. So it's a safe place for you to go and put your stuff out there. I love that. Okay. Let's talk about the empowerment of women. Cause I know this is something that's also like super important to you. I mean, I found you through a list of like women in SaaS who are disrupting and doing things. And so obviously you're committed to this, you're building your brand out there. But my favorite saying is empowered women empower women. And I think having navigated a tough career of friendly women, not so friendly women, lots of men, I've decided to take on the mission of like lifting up women around me. And obviously can't do it with everybody, but those that I can impact, I try to do so positively. So how do you think about that? What is women empowerment look like for you and kind of your day to day?
Yeah, I reflected it very recently because I never used to think about it that much because I was the person who was looking up to other women. And then later I'm looking back and saying, wait, there are women that are going behind me as well. And that made me realize, so my colleague, MC, she's leaving Dreamdata and I'm devastated that she is, but she has a new, very nice job. And she made me realize that actually. So what happened was that back while I was working at Red Hat still, we met together. Randomly, she reached out to me on LinkedIn and she said, oh, so not that many women in tech. Should we meet and have a chat and walk around the lake? And we did. We had a coffee. It was Corona. And we walked around the lake, had a chat about women communities in tech, and nothing happened. Later, I figured out that she is being hired to Dreamdata by a sales director that we had back then. And I was like, wow, you're joining me. And since then, we supported each other, worked along each other. But then later, before leaving, she's saying, Laura, you should know how big of an impact you did on my career. First, because you met with me to walk around that lake. We spoke about some of the ideas and so on. I have a lot of ideas and most of them don't see the shadow of light at all. And I was sharing those with her. And one of the days while at Red Hat, while at Dreamdata, she was saying, I think I would like to do a women in sales group in Denmark, like kind of a community. It's like, do it, of course. And I'll support you. She's like, do you want to co-host it with me? I said, no, MC, I will support you with everything I can, but I cannot host this. And she did it. Now she's like, I don't remember, like 1,000 people in the group. She's doing meetups and so on. And like these stories. And then before leaving, she's saying, so, you know what, Laura, you are very inspiring, but also very intimidating because feels like you're able to do it all. Like you can go do your exercise, you can do this, you can make it your dinner is always warm, and like you make your evening meetings and so on. But at the same time, then while doing all this stuff, the women around me, I would always have the time to support them, to come with a new idea. And if they want to do something, I will be the best supporter to both help them, check in how it's going. And whenever there is an event or something is not going, I will be there. I went to all of those meetups and so on to support them. So every time I have somebody around me especially who is a woman, and I know how it is to be one. So I'll be there to support whoever that is around me.
I love that. Okay, now I have to unpack your answer here because while you were giving me that story, you said this woman recognized the fact that you have time to exercise and cook and clean and do all of these things and still be a badass sales lady. Like, you're doing all of this stuff. So this leads me to my next question, because I am always fascinated by how we create balance in our lives. And balance looks different for everybody. I don't actually even know that I believe in balance. I think it's prioritization. But when you think of how you maintain your life, and you've got 2 daughters, you've got a spouse at home, you've got this blooming career, how do you do it all? Like, what is the infrastructure that you have to put in place in order to be as successful as you are in creating Laura for all these worlds?
It's a choice. So it is a balance of a choice. So I have set up some of the rules, guardrails that I do every single day. Not always happens, but most of the times it does. So to start with, exercise. I wake up every morning and I run with my daughters to school. So they bike to school. We still live in Denmark, so they bike to school. I run with them, which means that I get to have a little bit of time with my kids, serve breakfast for them. Then I run together with them for those 10 minutes to school. Then I finish off my run, which means that I've been with my daughters and I did my exercise. That's the first thing. I go back, I prepare, I go to work. And for the last year, I've been working both European hours and American hours, which means that a lot of long hours. But in the middle, there's always a break to finish up the dinner. So I'm cooking the dinner. Sometimes I don't eat it warm together with them, but the dinner's always cooked. And most of the times I would always be there to say goodbye to my kids. There are compromises that I have to do. There were times where I was very sad that I was not able to say goodnight to my kids. And my daughter was standing there just behind me. That's where I was doing this podcast as well. It's like, Mom, I'm going to sleep now. Are you still in a meeting? And you are in a meeting with your client, which breaks my heart because I want to be professional in front of the client. And at the same time, I know that, I would definitely love to be there more than I want to be here with that client. So there is a balance. And then there are some giveaways that I have to do to compromise for this. But the most important part of it is having a partner at home as well. I admire women in sales, but if there are women in sales who are single moms, I have no idea how they do it. Seriously, if I did not have a husband, I don't know. Seriously. And I almost get tears in my eyes because this is absolutely crazy, because you have to have both financial security and support from somewhere. Somebody has to help you out with your kids. It's like insane. So there are things that I have to sacrifice as well. And I hope that also shows for the future, both for my daughters to be inspired of what I'm doing. And when I look back, if there's just one thing that I am sorry for that I did not do, is I did not put my kids to sleep enough.
I think that they appreciate what you're doing. And, it is a balancing act and it's hard. And so, this is another question that I'd have for you, because I think this is something we all navigate. How do you balance the guilt? Right? Because I think we place a lot of guilt on ourselves, right? The things that we miss, the moments we're not there. I mean, I can count on 20 hands how many moments I've missed. I could also count all the moments that I was there. But it's this juggling act, right? Because every time we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. And it's heartbreaking at times. I just got back from a trip this week. I missed 2 things for my daughter. It's in the middle of midterms. She's going crazy. And, I took a red eye home today just to see her before her midterm today. And it's like, we do the best we can. How do you navigate the guilt of the moments that you miss?
It's tough. I just live with it, seriously, because there are so many of those. But at the same time, we speak about that. How did the day go for the kids? We speak about that. At the same time, their dad is there. If their dad is not able, because he has a career too, if he's not there, there's somebody from the family to be together with them as well. And when thinking about growing the kids, you always have to, at least I remember that kids are not grown but just by the 2 parents. We are kind of a tribe humans as well. So if you have a family supporting you too, your kids are not missing out on you.
Yep.
The guilt is with you. The guilt is not with the kid. So as long as the kid is fine and they're feeling that somebody loving them is together with them at that time, we're okay. If it's only me feeling the guilt, and most of the times the kids would not feel that, I can live with that.
Okay. I love that. That's good perspective for everybody who's trying to figure out how to do it all and how to say yes and to say no. Well, listen, Laura, I've loved your story. I'm super inspired by you. I'm following you on LinkedIn, so I've loved watching kind of what you're building there. And I encourage everybody for obviously all the career advice, yes, but I would say definitely if you're not building your personal brand and you're not thinking about that, I'm telling you it's transformative. It is something you should be investing in. It doesn't cost you anything. It costs you some time, but the ROI there is 10x. So if you aren't thinking about your personal brand and how you're being represented out there, it will open doors for you, create new opportunities to go and definitely make that investment. Now, Laura, before we wrap up today, what is the one thing you want to leave our listeners with?
Absolutely. And I leave my kids with that every single time. Just do your best. Wherever you are, if you do your best, you will excel and succeed. And let's say I was at the early days of my career. I did my best. I love this. And then I switched the career into something more junior role. I did my best and it paid off. And every time I get myself into something, I don't do it half. I just do my best and then see what happens. And if you feel stuck, switch and do your best. It's the easiest way to go about it.
I love that. It feels very comforting to think that like we can make those pivots, obviously following your journey, which is such an inspiration to all of us. I've loved hearing how you navigated. I loved hearing the combination and the kind of loop back to journalism, back into sales, then how you doing the brand building and how that kind of piece together. I mean, you've obviously had a fantastic journey. You've built something really special at home. You've built something beautiful at Dreamdata. I'm inspired. I know our listeners are. And so I'm just so grateful for the time that you've spent with me today to share that.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you for listening. If anybody would like to reach out and have a chat or just follow me, do that on LinkedIn. I'm only there.
Wonderful. Well, I love that. And we will link your LinkedIn in our show notes, and it'll be on the page on my site, our blog page. So we'll make sure that we have all of those details there. So everyone, if you've enjoyed this episode, please rate and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, connect with me on LinkedIn. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Hi guys, I want to share a bit about an organization that I support called Wednesday Women. They're on a mission to increase the visibility of executive women leaders that you should know, learn from, and be inspired by. On LinkedIn, they share the profile of 2 amazing women each week, on Wednesdays, of course. And now just imagine if we all followed, amplified, and nominated the women that we want to see more of. Their initiative provides examples of women CEOs, founders, sales executives, technical leaders, and so many more. By supporting Wednesday Women, you'll see more of these professionals in your social feeds, of course, but also on stages, podcasts, and panels. If you're interested in learning more and supporting their initiative, head over to www.wednesdaywomen.org or follow them on LinkedIn.